So first of all, I want to welcome everybody here to our 2-year anniversary. I feel like there should be fireworks that go off when you say that, but I just have a boring PowerPoint slide up at this point in time. But it's really exciting to be here with all of you today. And very excited with the fact that we've got a number of great guests joining us today to talk about kind of the last 2 years in the making and the impact that has had really on the Milwaukee tech ecosystem. But as we were thinking about this and what this might look like today, one of the first things that we thought of is just the corollaries between the journey that we're on, kind of 2 years into this journey of making Milwaukee a premier tech hub in the country, and the journey that the Bucks have gone through over the last couple of years. And so Robert Cordova, I'm very excited to say, and we're able to get together and start to talk about some of those corollaries. And I'm so excited that Robert is going to be able to join us today to talk about the making of a championship team through the lens of the Milwaukee Bucks. For those that don't know Robert, he is the CTO for the Milwaukee Bucks and was actually named CIO of the Year back in 2019. In that role is responsible for all of the infrastructure and the innovation that has gone on behind the scenes for the Milwaukee Bucks. And Robert has just a fantastic background in tech with over 30 years in organizations like AT&T and Sara Lee and CenturyLink, et cetera, which brings a kind of outside in perspective to what it takes to make a championship team and also the making of a tech hub.
All right, let's check it out. Well, hey, first, good afternoon, everybody that joined. It's great to be here. And myself and the Milwaukee Bucks, we are so glad to be part of the Milwaukee Tech Hub, helping drive, really like getting the tech population in Milwaukee growing, and that helps us all. And you'll see a few of my things here will refer to that. So, well, here, the first picture on the slide here is like the moment that we won the championship a few months ago. That's outside Fiserv Forum, our arena, the tens of thousands of us together celebrating being champs, right? So today I'm going to walk you through how we got there. There are dozens and dozens of ways of getting from point A to point B. So I'll explain the path that we took at the Bucks, and point A being, when the team was sold in 2014 by Senator Cole to the essentially the New York ownership base, and then point B obviously being this day a few months ago when we actually won the championship. And what I'll say as well is there were a lot of things that went into really coming together. Not just the athletes themselves, which obviously are a hugely important part of this, but the organization that you'll see, there's a lot of thought that went into it, like what road we took to really get to this point in time. And we did that poll just to kind of prove out the point that the Bucks were almost not even, a platform at the time when the team was sold. Platform for Milwaukee to be proud about. So it's just fun that like now everywhere you go, I think everyone sees a Bucks shirt or a Bucks hat or some sort of swag going on, especially since the past few months, but even for the past few years, you've been seeing that grow. So it just helps us kind of stop and say, hey, the Bucks are here. We're here for Milwaukee and Wisconsin, and we're all in this together to just build a great town here. So next slide, please, Kathy.
Sorry.
There we go. Okay, so here is another picture of that crowd, the game 6 when we won the championship. And so I will say that winning the championship was definitely our goal. but no less of a goal than really of that of bringing Milwaukee together in a positive and meaningful way, right? So I think one of the things that, build it and they will come. We think they will come, and oh boy, did we come in mass, right? So tens of thousands literally were there for all those games. And that was probably, that was just a great feeling that we actually accomplished winning, becoming the champs, but really all of Milwaukee enjoying that and coming together and feeling like champs themselves, which we should. So I guess, when you talk about, begin with the end in mind, this was really the end picture of that point B, was seeing everybody come together, not just inside the four walls of Fiserv Forum, but really throughout the Deer District itself. And so, we can only imagine that this might happen 7 years ago when the team was sold, and it did. So one of the things that I want to touch on is, if I think about, what was that foundational piece that kind of really got us going as a business and an organization, and you can bring in the next slide, Kathy. It was the way that Milwaukee and Wisconsin came together to give us this parcel, right? This downtown parcel in Westtown, which is essentially downtown Milwaukee, 30 acres of land that at the time, 7 years ago, was just really sitting there not doing much, right? So, it was an amazing opportunity for the Bucks organization. And it was a note that Milwaukee and Wisconsin put their trust and their faith in a new ownership to really transform this land, in that material, meaningful way. And so this is kind of like, that foundation piece that I think we have built on in real, and we'll touch more on kind of what we've done, and we're still on that journey to develop all of this land, right? So let's go back in time to 2014. Next slide, and we'll look at kind of, when the team was purchased May 16, 2014. What were the Bucks? What was what were we doing at that point in time? So when you look at basketball operations, last place in the NBA, it was that season where we only won 15 games, right? So arguably, not even arguably, we were the worst team in the NBA, right? You may have heard the story that when one of our owners came to town, they went down to see where the team practiced, which was down about 8 miles south. And it was in an old high school gym. And literally when he got there, there was rain, leaking from the roof, and there was a bucket there someplace on the court to catch it, right? So that was kind of just like a, kind of just where the Bucks were at that point in time. And then when you look at modern sports teams, there's the front office is comprised of a lot of things, but one of the important pieces that has developed over the years is the performance staff. So you have the coaching staff, the scouts, the GM, operations, but this whole idea of a performance staff to keep the players in good health throughout the season and into the postseason didn't even exist. So we had no organized performance staff. So that was kind of that snapshot of the team itself. When you look at the business of the Bucks, because at the end of the day, we're a business, right? So we physically, we weren't all in one place. We had 5 disparate offices throughout Milwaukee. From a fan engagement, guest experience standpoint, we had the worst attendance in the NBA, which goes back to the fact that we were, not even arguably, we were the worst team in the NBA. And surprisingly, even though it was built in 1987, I think the Bradley Center at that time was the second oldest arena in the NBA. And I think we all know on this call that things change so fast, and there's been so much technology that has been put into arenas into that experience and premium seats. So even though 1987, that doesn't seem that long ago, it was a long time ago when it comes to like modern sports and entertainment businesses like the Bucks. And then the last thing here that the new owner saw was really minimal brand awareness, which kind of goes back to our poll question, right? About, how many of you really had swag 6-7 years ago, Buck swag, and I'm sure you all had Packer swag, but probably not a lot of Buck swag. So our merchandise sales were almost negligible, and social channels, which were pretty strong 6-7 years ago, we had less than 1 million followers. So just this was the snapshot of the team at that point in time. So at that point in time, it was like, hey, how do we pivot? How do we get on the right trajectory here, right? So you'll see on the next slide, please. These were, I like to break things down into threes, but we did four this time. And these were the four things that we really wanted to focus on and drill down into to really launch the Bucks as a new organization and a new business and a new team that could one day win the championship. So the four things, I'll go more into depth here, but real quick, physical plant, just, one of the deals that we had to do is, to keep the team in Milwaukee, we needed to build a new state-of-the-art arena here. And if not, the NBA was going to go to the next town. And and I'm sure you can all appreciate, there's a long line of cities in America, even Canada and Mexico, that would love to have an NBA team. So we had to build that. You heard about our 5 offices spread out. We wanted to focus on that. The leaky gymnasium, wanted to focus on that. And then this plaza, right, that we've kind of coined like the living room of Milwaukee. Not sure what that was going to be like, but we did want to have a place where our guests, our fans could come before the game, stay after the game, and have a real place. Then there was local engagement. So you have New Yorkers that are coming into town, buying a team. We want to be sincerely and authentically Milwaukee based. So it was really, how do we engage Milwaukee in the team, in the business, right? The organizational structure, and I'll touch a lot on this, just, how do you build a healthy organization around not just the front office, but also the business office itself and the arena. And then, of course, what I just love, like the rebranding of the Bucks, and you'll see some slides here about that, but just, how do we rebrand the Bucks in a way that's believable, that's exciting, and you'll see some of those pictures. I'm sure most of this call have actually seen that evolve, but when you kind of look back as to what we were, I always wow, we came a long way on the branding, right? So these were our 4 things here. And so let's dig a bit into the first one, right? So once again, and these are things that I know and you may know, but for the most part, most folks don't know that the Bradley Center itself had been really designed for a hockey team. So there's nuances to watching a basketball game versus a hockey game, where the tunnels are, the bombs, and where the seats are, and where the team sits. So we built a new arena that was first and foremost basketball. Right now, if we ever do get a hockey team in Milwaukee, which when I moved here 4 years ago, I was shocked that there really wasn't an NHL team here, or in the entire state. It can support that, but really we're all about basketball at this point in time. We do have a way to make ice at Fiserv Forum, and you may have seen it there for like Disney on Ice and stuff, but it's really built for basketball. We also obviously increased the square feet quite a bit, by about 50%. And then we did go to private and public financing to fund it. And I think, as we all know, we can be frank in this call, there was some pushback to the TIF financing and the public financing that we did need. But I think looking back now, I would be surprised if folks in Milwaukee and the state didn't see that that was the right thing to do at the time. Hindsight 2020, right? Moving on to the practice facility, once again, we were given all of that land, and we wanted to build a practice facility really right catty corner from Fiserv Forum. So a brand new state-of-the-art 80,000 square foot training facility there with 2 full basketball courts, and that performance team and the space for them to really do physical therapy, weight training, all those great things that a modern sports team needs to really perform. So those are all put in there. And it was really a mindset shift too towards the science of sports. So even the name of our training facility, Frater Medical School of Wisconsin Sports Science Center, kind of frames it up as like, the science of sports, the science of performance. So those are some of the things that we really wanted to see come true. So that was built. And then the last thing is the business office, right? How do we bring together all these teams to truly collaborate, be transparent, not have silos across the organization, because we're all after the same thing here. And so we built out 20,000 square feet at the Schlitz Office Park. We're on the top floor of the Stockhouse there. And what's cool about that is we have a great view of downtown, but we have a great view of Fiserv Forum and the Deer District as it was being built. You could literally see it come to life there. So just great space. It's a very open floor here. So we have that collaboration. I don't even have an office myself. My big joke to my team is I have a continual open door policy where I have no door, right? And I would not have met most of the 350 employees, given my nature, if I was behind a closed door. So just those kinds of physical changes that match the culture are very, very important. So let's shift gears into the local engagement, right? So one of the first things here that we did was we brought in 16 local investors. So we wanted Milwaukeeans to own the team along with the original 4. So 16 local Milwaukeeans own part of the team. And more importantly, that kind of engagement really gives us a view into how to get things done in this town, right? So when it came to building out the Deer District, when it came to getting the right folks on board, how do we streamline getting through the city of Milwaukee to do some of these things? The 16 local investors really helped us out tremendously. So this was a real material engagement, not just a name, right? So that was a key thing that we did. And also you got to give back, right? So you have to give back in an authentic way. So we did stand up the Milwaukee Bucks Foundation, a nonprofit. We have a whole corporate social responsibility team within the Bucks. And we really hold that in high regard, and we invest in that. And one of the things that really impressed me over the years is that the players also engage through our foundation to help Milwaukee and the state. So seeing players and their spouses and significant others, like helping kids do math homework, like I've seen that. It's an amazing thing. So that's the piece here. Then moving on here. Well, go back real quick, Kathy. So when we built out Fiserv Forum, when we ran our games, we upped the wage that we paid, and we made sure that the workforce came from all the zip codes in Milwaukee. So that was another important investment that we made. Next slide. So now we come to the organization itself, right? So setting up the right organization was a key to success. And I really see this as like, how do we create good soil, right? So that the team, the players, when they come here, could grow the right way, and the business can thrive, right? And you need that good soil. And for our team, this was apparent in our investment in the training facility and that expansion of the organization under John Horst. You see here, Dr. Troy, he's that performance guy that we have that really drives so much of the success of the team. The coach, obviously, Mike, and then our GM, John Horst. And then as far as the business operations themselves, Peter Fagan, who's my boss, really created a culture here and an awareness of where we were going as a business and how we get there. But if you think about the Bucks and those 30 acres of land, yeah, we are a sports and entertainment business, but we're also a real estate developer, right? So bringing in the right people to do that real estate development, which isn't what you would associate with a basketball team. But that's what we're doing, and we're about halfway through developing the 30 acres in the Deer District. So, and a bit in a few slides, I'll also walk the culture that we have here at the Bucks as well. But next slide. So here's like the fun part around the brands, right? So if you look at the brands, I mean, the way I kind of look at these things, and I'm a tech guy, right? But like our chief marketing officer, Dustin Gotze, has been like genius on how he's done all of this, right? But if you look back, it's almost like a fun, whimsical, like almost cartoonish 1968 Bucks, Buck there, Bango the Buck there. And I love that brand. I wear it on my suit when I go to games. So love that brand. But if you go all the ways to like the most recent brand here, right? It looks like a much more determined Bucks. And all of this marketing stuff is like so important for folks, how they think about you, right? So, and what some folks don't know is if you look at just the number of points on the rack, right? We gone from like 10 to 12 points, right? It's just a more mature organization, right? So these are like those small things that, from a marketing perspective, like, oh yeah, there are 12 points. So it's just kind of fun. And then if you look at where the rack comes together, that's actually a basketball, right? And if you look at the chest of the Buck, that's an M for Milwaukee. So I just love that very determined Buck there as to how we rebranded the team to, hey, we are serious about the Bucks, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and getting to where we all need to get to. So next slide. So then, on the messaging, it couldn't be this immediate, we're champion. Well, we're not champion. Like, so you have to get that. You have to do the right messaging over the years to evolve, right? So it all started off, our CMO just told me a few days ago when I was putting this deck together, it was about this simple tagline of own the future. So it was really this hopefulness, right? And then over the years, you kind of saw those taglines become a little more strong, a little more towards, that we build for the future. We're built for this. We're built to excite. We're built to stay. We're history in the making. And then the next slide, says it all, right? History made. So, just even those kind of like, hey, I think we can do it. Like the little train story, right? And then, you can do it. So history made here. That was a great day. The parade celebration. And just a complete rebranding of the Bucks. Next slide here. So the last part of it was really around the gear, the merchandising, and that has grown quite a bit, obviously. And then also the digital branding on those social channels that I mentioned, so important to get that digital component. And probably never more important than now in this, this post-COVID age of like the virtual world. These digital channels become so important. So just that was kind of the last piece of our branding was about our digital thing. So next slide here. So those were like the 4 objectives that we started off with 7 years ago that we adopted as that path to success. But beyond those 4 things, I want to touch on a couple more things that were real paradigm shifts for like the org. And as Kathy had said, I've been part of a lot of organizations in my career. And like I tell my kids about parents, right? It's like your parents teach you 2 things in life and only 2 things: how to live life and how not to live life. So my corollary to that, for wherever you've been in your career, you learn how to do things well, and you've learned how not to do things, right? Because orgs all, we all make mistakes, but What I will say about the Bucks is that Peter has really, using our collective experience, has really driven just an amazing culture here. So, how do you build a winning culture, right? And what I'll walk you through next is really our 8 guiding principles at the Bucks. If you can get to the next slide there. And so I'll just walk through these real quick. Because every time I onboard someone on my team, I go through these because it's not exactly apparent what they mean. So be present or don't show up, right? So this is all about, we all have those days where we want to stay in bed, we just don't feel it. And the last things that we want you to do here at the Bucks is bring that toxicity or that tiredness into the office and spread it. So it's like, hey, it's okay. We all have those days. Stay home. There's nothing wrong with that. So either be present or don't show up, and it's okay. The next one here, set ridiculously high standards. So some of this is very qualitative, but a lot of it is quantitative. We really want to reimagine the places where we can go as a team, as an organization, as a business. Whether it's revenue, real estate development, the aesthetics there, the attendance that we can have, our product set, new business ideas, ventures. We want to set the standards and always try to be the best, right? The next one, include everyone, people. So when you look at the Bucks, there's very, very few things that we have here that we can't share throughout the organization. Maybe like the health of the players, we keep that pretty much behind closed doors. Maybe some of the coaching techniques, maybe some of the players that we want to go bring on board. But really, on the business side, there's very, very few things that we can't share. We can share how the NBA does business, and, all the things that come to the players' salaries and what we share. So we want to push this down to like everybody. Our business is pure retail and entertainment, media as well. How do we include everybody in this so everyone knows what we're doing and where we're going, right? So the next one, understand that culture happens with or without you. So this is an interesting one, in that it's a call to action. And what it is, when you hear a person say, hey, why wasn't I included in that conference? Or why wasn't I included when you made that decision? We don't want to hear that. Like, it's up to every individual in the Bucks to lean in. And if you're supposed to be included, get included. It's a call to action to be proactive and get engaged with where you think you need to be engaged. So this is where, like, if you don't get engaged, things are going to pass you by. So this is the one. Culture happens with or without you. Make sure your words match your actions. So from the owners down to myself and down to like the rank and file here, you have to make sure your words match your actions. This means like in the public sector, in the private sector, every place. So walk the walk, talk the talk, walk the talk in a very big way. This next one here, I would say, given the past 2 years with COVID and the virtual world, I think we see how well these virtual tools like the Zoom call that we're on now have worked, but we still believe that the best form of social interaction is face-to-face, right? IRL. So, we have 350 full-time employees, about 1,000 part-time employees that come in for the Bucks games and concerts to support that. And we make people meet, we make people talk. And that's the biggest thing for real collaboration. There's such a richness there when, face-to-face collaboration. So it is part of our culture here to get people to really talk. So that's an important one. Don't be a jerk, be nice. We're all after the same thing here. There's no reason you need to be a jerk. And so if we do have people that are toxic, we really get them out of the organization. We have way too much to do here. than to really be hamstrung from that sort of social friction, I'll call it, in a nice way. But be nice. Yeah, we still have to make tough decisions sometimes, but you don't have to be a jerk when you do those things. And then the last one here, work your butt off. So it can get pretty busy here at the Bucks, and the jobs aren't for everybody. If the 8 to 5 job is really your sweet spot, and you thought that would work here, we will, in a very nice way, help you go to your next job. But there can be long days, long weeks, long months here, and it's just part of the business. And so we let everyone know well in advance that you are going to have tough weeks here, and you're going to work your butt off. So those were like the guiding principles of the Bucks that I think have really set the culture here. And I just love to share those because they mean a lot. It's not just words on paper, but we really do live these 8 principles. Next thing. So another kind of paradigm shift, I would say, is really one of empowerment, right? So empowering the organization to drive change, to take advantage of opportunities. So, it's kind of resulted in this divide and conquer mentality, and it really makes us take this multi-pronged approach to success, right? So it can't be one person making the decisions. It has to be all of us, and then coming together to make sure that we're on the right path. So these brands here are just some of those brands that we have built over the years, starting on the left side here with the Milwaukee Bucks. As I said, we stood up that nonprofit foundation. We have the G League team, the Herd, built Fiserv Forum, developed the plaza around that the world now knows as the Deer District. Started an esports team, Bucks Gaming. We have our own bar, sports bar and grill, the Mecca. We have a beautiful rental space overlooking the plaza in the Gather. And then our most recent addition to the business was Cream City Cluckery. If you like strips, we're about to open our first QSR in Mequon. So why is the Bucks opening up a chicken strip joint? Well, there was a need that we saw, kind of born out of COVID-19 and the need to have food. And we just had an idea from our food staff, and this is what it resulted in. And it actually has worked out well. So this is where it's like the ideas don't just come from the top; they come from throughout the organization. So divide and conquer, and let's take advantage of all of this opportunity around us. So that's the empowerment. And then, of course, the last part of that winning strategy, that winning culture, is how do we do it again? And what we mean by that, I would say, yeah, we want to win another championship. We want to win quite a few more of those, right? We don't want it to be 50 years before the next one, but you have to be realistic too. And there are going to be some dark years, but how do we keep the business on the right trajectory through good times and through bad times? And we know that right now is the time to prepare for those downturns, right? Because they will go, right? What goes up must come down. So that's why it's a real call to action of like, okay, yeah, we want to do it again, but no matter where the team finishes, we want to be champions, if that makes sense. So that was a quick from point A to point B, right? So I wanted to talk a bit about some of our aspirational point C, right? Where are the Bucks going from here? And there's a lot of ideas here. And what I will say is that, since we won the championship a few months ago, there's been no rest, because all of us, if you think about it, the dog caught the bus, right? Like, we are attached to the bus, and now it's time. Okay, we caught the bus. Now what do we do, right? So we'll talk a bit about, what is that point C, and in a lot of ways, it comes down to adapting and evolving our vision and our plans, right? And a great example of this is if you look at this conceptual plot map of what we thought, what we first imagined the Deer District would be, and this is from about 4 or 5 years ago, right? So you see Fiserv Forum, number 1 here. You see the training facility, number 8. You see our parking garage that we built, number 7. We see the existing Bradley Center parking garage, which is number 2. The entertainment plaza kind of between number 1 and number 4. But believe it or not, we still have 15 more acres, half the land, essentially blocks 3, 5, and 6, and the very top of block 8 still have to be developed. And this is, we thought that we knew kind of what would be go there. Hey, let's put mixed use residential in block 5. Let's put a hotel and an office building in block 6. Let's do another hotel in block 3. Let's do more parking in block 2. Let's do a coffee shop on the top of block 8. And I think we really got to go back, because all those people that turned up, I mean, it's like, we got to think more about the content and the experience. And I'm not sure if having these siloed blocks is the right way of going, right? So if you go to the next slide, even during the playoff games, when a few of us went down to Atlanta, where the Braves play. So our friends at the Braves have one of the most successful sports and entertainment development districts in the United States. And it's all the stuff to the left here that lead up to their ballpark, Truist Park, right? So they have hotel rooms, condos that you can buy, retail, restaurants, tons of parking. So when we went out there and we met with the Braves during the playoff run, you always want to ask, like, hey, what would you, we heard that you guys did things perfectly, but is that true? Or like, were there some things that you would have done differently? And they're like, oh my gosh, Robert, we would have built a ton more hotel rooms. We would have had more restaurants, probably would have had less retail stores. So they learned a lot the past several years as to really what works here. So we want to take those types of learnings and apply them to the Deer District itself. So the next slide, what is this going to become? We want this to become an experience, right? A place where people want to come from all over Wisconsin, all over America, from all over the world now, because we are known, right? In the past, 2 to 3 months, I've traveled to Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Buffalo, New Haven, various places. And people are telling me about the Deer District, right? I'm not having to tell them about it. They saw it on TV. They saw the excitement. They want to come here and be part of that excitement. And that's such a nice thing to know that we are known, right? So we know one thing about this conceptual drawing, that it's not exactly right. So we want to really rethink that, and that's kind of this next kind of point C about the Bucks. So what kind of new engaging content can we create throughout and in the Deer District? What is that Wisconsin experience that when people come here that they want to have, right? So how do we really expand the content and expand our product set, essentially, right? So I think our next big paradigm shift for success at the Bucks is really around disruptive innovation, right? But it doesn't stop there just in the physical assets that we have. And so as a CTO, let's end this on a technology note, right? So even though all this physical stuff is amazing, but what about that virtual world, right? The virtual fan journey, the virtual experience. What about virtual products out there? Where do NFTs play into engaging a fan base all over the world, right? How do blockchains and smart contracts play into over the top content? How can smart contracts and NFT drive engagement with our nonprofit foundation, right? If you don't live here, you can still be part of that, right? So we are, looking into all of this as part of how do we really disrupt our business, and how do we grow it with all these new tools that are out there? How does digital drive operational excellence? How can we get digital intelligence about how to best run our Deer District here? I would just heard an example that when the Brewers were going deep into the postseason, we wanted to have watch parties here for the Brewers game, but without really knowing our exact expense per person out there, it was a high risk thing to do. So how can we use, how can we use data, quantitative ways to really understand our business more and more, so we can be that living room for Milwaukee in the state. So really what I think of is that we need to invent things at the Bucks, right? We need to invent them ourselves, and we need to invent them through our partners as well. So these are really exciting times, and that's exactly why we work with the Milwaukee Tech Hub. They're vital to us and the entire Milwaukee region, and really helping us think about how to really reinvent sports and entertainment. And so that's what I'll end on. There's a lot of really cool things coming down the pipe, but thank you so much for your time today, and I'll hand it back over to Kathy.
So thank you so much, Robert. I think we all hopefully can start to see the corollaries of moving, from a team, that was strong, but to one that is a championship. And it's this is so exciting, I think, to share this journey with you.